Hi, good morning. This is Bruno from Family Technologies Automation Studio. Welcome to our webinar series on Automation Studio 7.1. First, I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for joining us today. So I'm Bruno. I'm technical sales representative for Automation Studio. I'm joined here by my colleague Vincent Remillard, who will be presenting today's content. So let's take a quick look at the topics for today's webinar. So first, what we'll be doing is in the first webinar, which is creating training and technical publication material in 7.1, we'll cover some of the new and existing features to support you in creating and expanding some of the training and technical publication content in the software. The second webinar, which is scheduled same time next week, is on new and improved components and features in 7.1, and this will cover some of the new features and developments which we've made available. And then finally, our third webinar will be on the top 10 best practices of Automation Studio, which will cover some of the core techniques that are often overlooked by users to help them understand basically what's some features that are available for following some of the best practices. So for today's agenda, what we will be looking at first of all is we'll cover some of the tools and standards that are available in the software, which have been added in the 7.1 version. Then we'll expand on explaining and showing some of the content already available in the software, which you can easily integrate into your trainings. And then also we'll be going through some of the troubleshooting capabilities, some of the various tools that are available depending on your style of training. And then finally, we'll be covering some of the techniques in order to be able to publish and share some of your training and technical publication content. We'll reserve a questions and answer sessions at the end of the webinar for about 10 minutes time. So if you have any questions regarding the during the webinar, you can use the chat box. So there's a little questions box that you can go and put your answers. We have some colleagues that have joined us as well that'll be able to answer some of your questions. And then for anything that's really relevant, which we think that it's probably a question that a lot of people have, what we'll do is we'll answer it directly, but we'll also maybe address it at the end of the webinar in the Q&A session to bring the question up and give the answer to everybody. So without further ado, I'd like to pass over the screen to my colleague Vincent so that we can begin the presentations.
Yes, just let me make me presenter. Thank you very much, everybody, to have accepted that invitation. You able to see my screen now? Should see Automation Studio.
It's working.
Okay. So once again, thanks again to have joined this webinar. My name is Vincent Remillard. So I will show you a little exploratory session on all the tools available to really create training material. Really, we're going to focus today on the visual aspect. This is why we have put in the title both training and technical publication. So how from a schematic from an Automation Studio project you could use available features, tools really to enhance and get really more efficient in the way that you create this material or this support material for your session or for your work. Okay, so there is some prerequisites to really follow this webinar. As you see on my screen, I have already built a circuit. This circuit has been created using Automation Studio best practices. A couple of tips or things included in that circuit creation. Of course, I've used the ISO standardized symbols here, which contain some attributes that will be useful later on to activate some visual features of Automation Studio. I've also used some components coming from the catalog, which also contains some designated lines, function, and attributes that will be reused after that. And if I name also the creation of that schematic, after we drag and drop the component, you make the lines. As you may know, you could associate some visual object here with some specific functions. Okay, we're going to explore that later on. So after this circuit has been created, really in no time, this is where you can take advantage of the tools that we're going to present in the first portion of Automation Studio to bring this black and white schematic into a much more visual and colorful material. Okay. So first of all, well, I already go into the view, this view tab, which allows me to get access to enable or disable some features of Automation Studio. Really, so you have the complete freedom to add or remove part of that schematic that you want or not for your printout. Okay? So if you look at this this tool, there's a little title block here. There is a legion with the list, the identification of the component we have on the schematic. There is a map locators here. All these objects are part of the Automation Studio standards, which you can use to create a template. Okay, so you don't need to rebuild that. You just need to build your schematic from scratch, or reuse an existing schematic coming from another division, another subsidiaries of your company. And you could use that black and white files and activate some features really to change a little bit the look and feel, to bring a cool factor in this material that you create. Okay, so as you may know, in this view tab, you do have access to the document properties. So this is where really that you will be able to change this native schematic and bring a bit more to it. Okay, so if you look at these document properties, you will have a list of all the standards available. So these standards are split into parts. Of course, the page setup, this is where you define the page size. This is where also you can include an embedded bill of material, a legend, as you'll see. Map locator, this is with the A and the letters and numbers here to identify the locations of the component. In the fluid, so if you go here, the fluid will define the standards that you use as you draw the circuit with jump or not, the number, the size of the connectors that you have. So everything can be defined here. And in the hydraulic, this is where really you define all the colors that you want per the line function that you have. So you predefine into a standards what are the colors or some aspect that you want to bring as you change it. Okay, so just as an example, I will go here and I will select another standards that I have predefined. Okay, so I use the design standard. Okay, you have not seen it, but just to redo it. So from the black and white to the color, with the color one, I bring a little legend. So this is part of my page setup standard with the color that I have here. Okay? I will do the same for the map locator, but you see there's nothing more that I want to add to it. So forget it. If you go in the fluid, okay, so I add this fluid also. Sorry about some manipulation here. Here you go. Just make sure that you can see it. Okay, so I use the fluid standard and the hydraulic standard. I apply to it, and you will see, so the first step, okay, so using a different standards will allows you to see some color based on the line function that you define. So if I go here and I decide that I will use a pilot function here, color or the line style may change based on what I have selected. Okay, there's another object that could be useful to see here is you can use also different standards for the balloons, the reference that you are using here. I'm going to use that later on. So black and white if you want to print with non-color printers, colored if you want to present something, if you want to present something and the color might be useful. In that case, we can switch between those standards. Okay, now that I have selected these colored standards, this gives me another level of highlighting, okay, that I can use really to increase the visibility of that circuit for my PowerPoint presentation or for my live presentation. So in the version 7.1, we have added some of these highlighted features really to improve the quality of that material. So the first one is what we call the cross view highlighting. So those attributes, once again, are predefined as in the standards. So you just need to select this and you will have this cross view. What we mean by cross view, if I zoom in, you will see that you have like a foreground and a background color. So you really have the impression that the pipes or the lines is cut in the middle. Okay? Compared to another highlighting modes that we have made available, the full highlights. So the full highlights will mix the background and the foreground color. Really, if you need for your standards to identify some special lines with patterns and so on. So you see some two patterns here that we have developed and that are available for you to take advantage of that. So you decide what will be the color. Once again, everything can be perfectly standardized, customized, and so on. Okay, so this is an edition mode. I will return to this. If I return to my view tab here, this is where also there's a lot of things that can be be activated really to be visible on your schematic. A new things that we have developed is really the highlight component. Okay, so when I do this, you will see the moving part of the cylinder, for example, or the static part of this valve. It's a light gray, maybe it's not visible, but you see the directional valves here, and the cylinder background is really colored with another color. Okay, so this is something that we added really to, of course, we'll explore how you can change the color later on, but this is a new feature available from the document properties. Okay, it's not everything covered with this highlight components. This is an ongoing process, so in the future we're going to add pumps, motor, accumulators, and so on. So in the meanwhile, you can use this highlight components mode in combination with the layers. Okay? So we have developed also some specific libraries that will allows you easily to shape or to add colors to the missing component that we don't have yet in our standards. Okay? So if I click on these complementary training element, you see I was able to use this specific library to color this piston of my swash plate and to color other object. You'll see as I'm going to run the simulation. Okay. Can also add, for example, in the layer some control element that will allows me to operate the files. So this layer manager really also useful in order to activate or deactivate object in your project that you want to print or that you want to use in simulation and so on. Okay. So all those standards that I show and these colored are in edition mode. So to create static material, to create guides, to create assembly or operating material that you need to print and so on. Okay? The other aspect of Automation Studio, as you know, is that schematic can be animated or simulated with the real or realistic properties and parameters and so on. Okay? So let me run the simulation mode on it. So you will see also you will be able also to appreciate. So with the highlight of the component, you see we are able for the cylinder and directional valve, the active part of the valve or the one that is active in the simulation can be colored a different way. Once again, if you don't like this yellow, you can use another color and so on. So I have my simulation here. Nothing is moving. I have my low pressure color shown here. When I click on that, you see all the color in that case are based on the pressure or function of the pressure that I have, and I can operate my file really with the object that I have. So I will, you see, when I move the active spool will turn or will be active. So now I'm moving. Here we go. Everything is stabilizing and so on. I can pause at any time the simulation. Okay, to do a printout. I'm gonna recap that later on, but you can export or print that simulation stages, which is new also in the 7.1. There's other format that we're gonna explore later on. Okay, so you see, just remember from the native black and white circuit only, I'm able to produce that in a couple of minutes. Okay. I don't know if there is a question at the moment already, Bruno, or if we.
Yeah, we'll definitely
Okay.
save the questions for
Okay.
the end. But
No, No problem. Just to finish this first portion of the presentation, which we really once again we focus on what can be displayed. We have explored the layer properties once again, which could allows you to remove object that you don't need. Specific object can be put on specific layers. There is some special object also. The labels are not available in this project, but there's on the dynamic measuring instrument that will measure real properties are also in a specific layer, so you can activate or not those objects. Okay? What is interesting also is, well, you may have seen I already have also information shown on my schematic. So as most of you knows already, just as a reminder, if I take this cylinder, you have access to all variables or properties of it. And if I take the stroke, for example, you see that the stroke of my cylinder is displayed here. So the value that I have for my simulation, I've used it. So if I change that for 400, you'll see that that value will change here. I can also decide if I wish to display these properties. I can manipulate that. So all these objects that you have on the schematic are really they are not fixed. You can move them. So if you use the object available in Automation Studio, like this reference, you can easily change a little bit, add more textual information. You see, like these explanation or the function of these component here can be displayed easily. Another little interesting things is, as you do mouse over to the component, you see each component here when you do have this mouse over activated. Okay, so the component tooltips, you are able to add the tooltips. What the tooltips is it will be an hyperlink to an external files that will also help you to enhance or give complementary information. So you are giving a training session on this circuit and you want to give more explanation on the pump, you go here and you can link picture of that pump. You can link a video as well. Okay, so you just need to click here to click on the component, find the hyperlink, and that's it. This material will be done. Picture can be also inserted live in the schematic, so there's no limit on what you can do with that. Okay, so for the next 2 minutes, let me also get to another really interesting feature. So you see I have some textual information. I don't have much in that project, but this will do it for what I want to explain. So you see, and these terms are in English, but let's say that you are multinational companies, you want to reuse that into another language. So we have developed something which is called the translation manager that will allows you to manage the textual information the way that you want. Okay, well, you may know already the software is already translated in a lot of languages, so the interface will be automatically translated by changing the language. It's the same for all the native component properties. So those one will be translated. We'll use the application language to do that. But there is some extra information like this lifting cylinder that can be, so you can define that and add that to the project dictionary. Okay, so if I use this translation manager, you'll see that for my specific project, I already have all these languages defined. Okay, so when you select a field to be translated, you can go here and input your own user-defined translation. Okay, so just to show you, if I do that, you see I have my lifting cylinder. I will use the French. So I just need to click on this, and for people French speaking, you will see my lifting cylinder becomes Vérin levage. It's the same for all the textual information that I have defined in my dictionary. Okay, so let's get back to English here. You see, the switch now is made. So the same schematic that I showed at the beginning, I can transform it the way I want. I can also translate the terms really easily and use that information efficiently. Okay. So now that I have presented some feature tools really to change the layout and the visual aspect of your schematic, let's go to the second part of the presentation. I'm seeing there's no questions, so do not hesitate. The second part, we're gonna explore a couple of already made contents. We know that for teachers, bon, software like that is a perfect fit for your training material, but you sometimes don't have time to create your own material or and so on. So we do provide in Automation Studio a lot of already existing contents. Okay, so the first one that I can mention, okay, and it's really not neglectable, depending really on the level of complexity or the level of your training material that you want to create. Let's say that you are interested in the component-based training or function-based training, or you want to add a specific symbol to your TechPub material and so on. If you go on our website, here's a list of all the manufacturers for whom we have developed catalogs. Okay? So most of the hydraulic and pneumatic manufacturers are available. They are either available completely or into Automation Studio catalogs that we have also in various technologies. Okay? So if I go in the hydraulic, we'll explore with you what these catalogs contains. Okay, so this component, for example, is available as is in our manufacturer catalog. So if I go here, I go in my Automation Studio Hydraulic. So as explained, this Automation Studio Hydraulic catalog is a function-based catalog. Okay, you have some braking system. It's mainly mobile. There's a couple of industrial also concept that can be used, or some specific valve. So if I go in pumps, if I take one components really requested a lot by the trainers. If I take a Bosch pump, so a 10VO, I take the first one. I go in my catalog. I can drag and drop this component right in my schematic to use it to build my circuit. But also there is extra information that may not be useful for you. The picture is there, can be also tied up for and reused as you need it. There's a document or a link with the website where to find extra documentation. For some component, there's a 3D available as well. And really, when we talk about available material, we publish for each component that we have in all our catalogs, we publish a test bench. Okay, we call it a test bench because this is when we have an agreement with manufacturers. This is we use that material to validate the accuracy of the model, the performances of the model. But for you trainers or people building like scenario or theory of operation, this or these test bench are much more than only to test the component. You have an environment, Automation Studio environment, with some basic instruction. So you have the pump in a really basic application that you can run once again as is. So if I run the simulation on this one, you will see that with the instruction you can follow step by step. So in that case, you'll see when I restrict the orifice, what this will allows me to do, allows me to control the flow, maintaining a differential pressure, and this differential pressure will be maintained. So this will make the flow constant, even if I increase the working pressure of that. Okay, so this material, you download the catalogs, you open the test bench, and you can do exactly what I'm doing at the moment. Of course, since you are a specialist, your explanation will be much more accurate than mine. Okay, but this is just to show you the concept. So there is pumps, there is a steering system, braking system. There's also some industrial valve bank that we have as is to be reused. Okay. A little sideline to make a link with what we just seen. Another advantages of using these catalogs is all of these objects here also contains the attributes, so the right line functions pre-selected that will allows you to highlight the components and get out of this highlights the right color based on your own standards. So those are drains, those are pilot line. I could have used, and I still be able to use that. This is more load sense line. If you do that, you see I turn this load sensing line being yellow. Those components, they are not fixed. You still be able to, sorry, if you right click on it, you still be able to go inside of those, and you can exit the assembly. You can move things around. If you want to shrink the component, you can bring the component closer if you need more space. Okay? So you can go here and you still be able to do that line function and really make everything the color that you wish. Okay, so there is predefined function for the lines and so on, but you are free to do. Okay, so compared to building this pump from scratch, some minor modification may be required, but you understand that you'll be much more efficient using those test bench compared to starting from scratch. Okay, so another things that is available that we keep enhancing from version to version is the illustrated library. So what we mean by illustrated library, let me start from an empty schematic. If I go in my library explorer, you may have seen since a couple of versions this new button that opens. So this gives you access to some specific libraries. So these illustrated libraries contains, well, they are trade oriented depending of the technologies, a lot in electrical as well. It can be linked with your hydraulic circuit. So the one that might be really interesting to explore with you is maybe the sectional components. Well, we have two types: some that will work as is, and some that you can also synchronize with the real circuit. So you have the cross-section view with the circuit animated or simulated side by side. So let's explore what this library contains. Okay, if I go with this one, you will find here a bunch of components that you just need to drag and drop. Okay, so I take a pump here, I take an actuator, I take a cylinder, double acting cylinder, I can take a tank from here. Okay, so you bring your components in, you position them where you want. You have a pump. We do have, I think, also some directional valve that make me bring. Okay, and you have these components here. Okay, just to show you how easy it is to use those library. So you have on the inlet of this pump, from the pump to the P port of my valve, from the A port to my cylinder, from my B port once again to the valve, and I bring this tank port to the other side of, okay. Once again, you can make things a bit more cleaner to see where I can use that and so on. You have that, you run the simulation, and these components will behave exactly the same way than the hard-coded component. You click here, you can change the displacement. You click on the lever, you can move things around. So the animation of the internals is shown. You could increase the load, pressure will change when you reach the ends. You see the pressure may increase. I don't have any protection here. So not, okay, so this was a telescopic cylinder. Okay. So this is there to use. And with that, if I get back to my example, you could build something that can look like that in no time. Okay. So you have these illustrated library here used, and we have connected these components with the highlighted standards in the cross-section view. So you have everything, including the pipes, in the cross-section view mode. So if you run a simulation, you will see. So this will give another level to your training material. You see, it all depends on the level of the people that you need to train or give information. So there is some technician that they may not know or be comfortable with the ISO symbols or with a complex pump assembly. They may be interesting also to see what is going on internally and so on. So once again, everything can be perfectly can be moved, and you see where the flow is going as you operate that file. You can increase the load and see how this will influence things. You see now I don't have flow because my swash plate is really in the neutral position, and so on. Okay. Yes, there's something, Dennis.
Yeah, yeah. The motor we use is unidirectional. That's why you just have to use
Yeah.
the lever on the left. That's it. We don't have added the bidirectional at this time. That's why there is no flow. It's okay.
No, it's not a problem. Then it seems you're trying to put flow where you couldn't because of you see when
Yeah.
you go that this is turning. And as explained, this is it's not yeah, it's a open loop pump that we use with this radial piston motor. Okay, so you control the flow. Swash plate will adjust based on the flow demand that you have. Okay, so well, there is many other things that is available. The TeachWhere, I will explain it a little bit later on. So this available material is really in the last 2-3 years the most used components or features that we made available for training purposes. Okay. Now let's move to the third part. Let's give you really a couple of examples of how you could use what you have seen with the simulation to create really your own what if scenario, theory of operation material, and so on. So for that, let me get back to this pump. Okay. Well, you have seen this pump working fine. We have in automation few ways really to add failure or to add to degrade. I don't know if the performances of your component. So let's take this pump that I was able to operate perfectly. Just double click on it. Okay. And you'll see there is a troubleshooting tab here. With this troubleshooting, what you can do is you can add some specific failure or generic failure for each component. So in that case, let me just bring a little external leakage to that line. So a failure can be declared, meaning will be visible to be activated in simulation mode, and you can decide to declare that failure. You can make it declare, or you can use also object from the main library to activate this failure. Okay. So let me take an object that that everybody has in the hydraulic, so a little push button. I will call this push button failure 1. Okay. And this will allows me really to with this boolean variable, I will be able to link it. So this is the alias of my failure. So this failure now will be activated when I will push on that button. Okay. So if I start here my simulation, okay, I will be able to control the flow, bring a certain, okay, so this is the flow control with my circuit. If I increase by breaking this motor here, I increase the load, the flow remain constant. What happens if I click on that failure? You will see motor stop, not turning anymore. And okay, so you have a failure here, and let's say you are in a classroom training. You have all the students using a simulation version. Well, you don't need to tell them where the failure is, and they can really try by their own to use these realistic troubleshooting tools and try by a sequence of not this multimeter hydraulic tester. They could try really to diagnose and do a realistic troubleshooting sequence in order to find the failure. Okay. And this is once again, it's to bring your static schematic or your component training into a more troubleshooting, diagnose-based training. Okay, so it's a little interesting things to do. And other things that it could be really interesting. It's also something that is available, so I could have talked about it in the second portion of my presentation. But we have example of really an interaction training that you can create. Okay? So this TeachWhere is available. It's free from our website. You install it. You will get access to this extra tab in your Automation Studio interface, and you decide on which technology. So if I click on the hydraulic, this will open. It's already open. That's why this will open. Sorry, an hydraulic library like that, where you see you will have a structure of the courses that you can run from it. So if I use a similar example that I did already, so I go into component-based training, can train on the physics for those that has no experience at all in hydraulic. You could also more circuit drawing. The component identification could be part also of the training or training material. Component-based training, we have also some circuit troubleshooting. Okay, so let me reuse to show you exactly the same or similar one that I am having. So I go in the pumps, and I go in the load sense and pressure compensated pump explain. So you see, I have magnify here allows me to visualize what this training looks like. So really similar, or probably exactly the same component that I use to show the component from the catalogs. Okay? So this environment, it's the TeachWhere environment. So it is composed of on one schematic and one form that the user will be able to fill as they run this automated exercise. Okay, so really interesting. This content is available directly by double clicking on this PRX file. Okay? I've run a video of it. I've done it because there's sounds, there's voice or text to speech feature. I might think the video you will be able to hear it. If not, it's not a big problem. We can share back this video. So as you run the TeachWhere, this is what will happen. So you have an interaction. So the trainee will have an interaction. With it. Okay. So I doubt that you can hear something. Can you, Bruno? It's not audible, huh? Okay. So,
No, it's we can't hear it, no, but it's okay.
It's okay, no problem. So you see with the visual, okay? So synchronized with the voice over characteristic, there's an explanation of what the trainee or the student should look at. Okay? And there is a pause where you can click here and you can give answer to the question asked by this virtual trainer. Okay, so as a trainer, really convenient. You go get a coffee, you run this, and you have this virtual trainer that do your job. Okay? I'm joking. Yeah, this is really something to enhance your training material that you can run maybe exam through that. You see, these answers will be written in the form. They will be stored. You will be able to print out. Okay? So step by step, there is a guide. So you just manipulate. You have a full interaction with the schematic. Okay. So of course, for that file, you will need an Automation Studio, at least simulation version, or the student will need access. Will need. Oh, there's a little glitch in my my video. Okay. So well, can keep it running it, but I think you understand the concept. And if there's a lot of questions, so it will be good to have time. So we'll we'll stop the video here. You understand the concept. At the end of the exercise, you will be prompt, or something will prompt you to print if you want the exercise. So I already made this this printout. Okay, so in a PDF format. So this is the exercise print out directly from the TeachWhere. Okay, so I invite you, for those who are interested, let us know. We will guide you on where you can access to this this TeachWhere, and it is really worth it to explore what is there. Those are already available. These components, I'm sorry, these exercises are already available, but you can create your own exercise as well. And this is just some samples of what can be done, but we have already a lot of trainers that create their own exercise in order to automate easily a sequence, which could be for a training sequence, troubleshooting sequence, theory of operation. Okay, could be really interesting there. Okay, but that's about another really available contents, which really conclude this third part about how from this the basic schematic or from the simulation you could really add an extra layer on it to create really interesting training material for your students. Okay, well, the part 3 was a bit more for trainers or for technical publication. If you can publish that on your website. I know that a lot of our customers, they do have their own way to deploy that material on the web-based application. So this can be used or can be saved into those tools. So the last part of the presentation, let me take 5 minutes just to recap how you can really publish those material. What I mean by publish, to create your manuals, to create your web-based application, to create the videos that you can put in your PowerPoint presentation if you want. Okay, so the first tool, really interesting, if I go here, is in Automation Studio. There is ways to record everything that you do. Okay, so if you click on asynchronous, it will start recording everything that you are doing. Okay? So the edition, if you move and so on. Okay? I will not save it. Sorry. And you can synchronize also the video with the simulation. So if you do that, nothing happened until you click on the simulation button. Okay, now you click on it, video will be recorded, and you can use this video. It's an MP4 format. So any video or media player can read it afterward. Okay, so really good this video. And the other ways really to publish is we do have a lot of export format. Okay, so all these well-known formats, so DXF, PDF, SVG. SVG, it's an increasing, I would say, the interest of SVG increased because it's the perfect format for a web-based application. Okay? A lot of options that we keep adding. So let us know if you try those and the quality, or there is some object when you export that are not carried over. We keep improving that. But with those options, it gives you freedom to bring these schematic and that material in the format that you wish with a really high quality. Okay. Other really interesting aspect. So you can save a project into a simulation only version. So this will make that project compatible with the runtime version or the simulation only version. Okay, so as a trainer, you want to save that, so make all the students having access to it. And this is really important. We have since a couple of versions now, an Automation Studio Viewer. So an Automation Studio Viewer will allows you, it's only the view, it's like a PDF reader. You will not be able to simulate with it, but everything that you have in the View tab here, including the Layer Manager, will be there. So you can probably the perfect format to deploy your training material to dealership, for example, or for people that doesn't have Automation Studio version. Okay. I think I've reached the end. There's a couple of things that we'll see if I will have time in the question and answer to recap that I didn't mention that was part of my my presentation. I'm sure I will have time. I see some question will allow me to bring those points in. Let me just show you, okay, page by page, a little recap. Okay? And a print out of what I showed you this morning. Okay? So from black and white schematic, so this has been exported, put in a PDF format. So you see the quality is up to anybody's expectation. You have a black and white, so when you print it on the black and white printer, perfect, perfect layout. From that, you can color, having a legend. You can use the highlight mode cross-section view to bring the circuit with some colors. You can use also the reference. You can change color of the reference. We call it for technical publication. So if you have colored base material, you see this will look nice and neat. In simulation, a lot of simulation feature, a plotter that I didn't cover yet that will allow you to monitor what is going on in your simulation. More animation type, so there's no technical information except for this this manometer, but it's really the animation visual format, which component is active, which one is not active. Cross-section view here. This is interesting. It's something that I didn't this is an interesting thing. I will see if I will have time in the Q&A part. You see this pump is coming from the main circuit that I was talking about. These cross-section objects are coming from this project here. So we have a feature called Embedded View that allows you to take part of a really big schematic. So let's say you work with designers, they have an A0 or an NCD size schematic, but you are mainly interested to see from the pump to the actuator what is going on. You can take those objects out, or you can add an extra view that will allow you to see in a really reduced size, like I'm showing here, portion of the big schematic that you want to focus on a specific page. Okay, well, I may have time to show you using the layers to show picture tooltips. This is really with the dynamic measuring instrument, focusing a bit more on really the numerical parameters of it, more on the simulation part of it. And so on. And a little recap on ways to share, publish, and add those projects in your presentation. The Pro and Simulation version, those are you need licenses to use those. Just a side note, I don't know if I mentioned it, this viewer is fully free of charge. I have my colleagues tell me to, okay, you just need to download it. We send you a code and you can run it on all the computers you want. It's fully free of charge, and you will be able to save project from Pro version specifically for a viewer. So if you have like some, or you feel you have some confidential information in the Pro project or the Pro version that you are using, you'll be able to save to save a specific project where all the technical information will be removed. So the user will not get the same project. They will get a simplified project that they would be able to view only. Okay, so the printable format that we have, video creation, and so on. Available material catalog. We can share after this meeting a link where you can find all those catalogs, the trade-oriented libraries, with some cross-section view, the illustrated libraries, and the TeachWhere, which give you some samples of interactive and fully automated training material. Okay, I'm 10 before 10. I will stop it and try to, I think there's a lot of questions, so I will let my colleagues guide me and select which one they feel we should answer right now. Thank you very much.
Hi, Vincent. Thanks so much for the presentation. It's by perfect timing. First of all, I just want to quickly mention that the video will be shared after the webinar. So if anybody was curious about that, it will be available, so anybody can go and download it. I guess on the viewer itself, Vincent, just to I guess quickly mention what's actually included in the viewer, such as, for example, layers, tooltips.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. You see, when I run the simulation, everything in that mode is not available. Okay? So everything else that you can do when you are not, or almost everything, sorry, that you can do when you are not in simulation mode, showing the grid, showing the satellites of the component, the port name, everything, manage the windows and so on. In edition modes, will show the layers, make some portion of the schematic visible or not. All of these objects will be available. Okay? You will not be able to edit. I was joking with the simulation that of course it's not possible, but you will not be able to add to the schematic. So those drawing tools will not be there, and so on. You'll not be able to create bit of material reference and so on. Okay.
Vincent,
So yes, go ahead.
in the PDF there is the slide of the interface. You show in the PDF. You show there is a slide that shows the interface of go up once again. This one. This is the viewer. So you have access to all the function.
Absolutely. So hope it answer your question. Okay. So it's really we have developed that to support native feature of Automation Studio much more efficiently. Okay? When you do export in PDF, you will keep some hyperlinks, but you will not get the layers. You will not get everything that can be toggled on or off compared to using this viewer. Okay. Hope this answered the question. Any other one?
Yeah, very good. The second question is regarding the red components in simulation. So this is regarding the animations, right, that are available. So whenever you launch the project, the first project that you had opened in the Bosch A10 VO, we noticed that some of the valves were showing as red in the simulation. So it's just a matter of just showing really quickly how to turn that off in the project properties standards.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
If you run this, go ahead, Denis, if you
Vincent,
want to.
display the circuit, the main circuit you have used in the. Yes, when you turn simulation, you will see that there is some component that are red. You see?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, you mean yeah.
Okay, okay, I will finish. If you right click on the valve or the pump, or you will have access to cross-section view.
Yeah, there's two things here. There is the hands that you see and the red. Okay.
So the animation.
When you are red, it means that you have an embedded cross-section view. Okay? It's still really valuable, still really good, but this is probably it's a legacy, let's say, cross-section view that we have in Automation Studio. Those animations are now replaced by the illustrated library.
And to turn in black, you just have to go in project properties, standards.
Yes. I will cover. I didn't because I didn't want to. I will stop the simulation. I didn't want to stop the flow of my presentation, but I need to give complementary information of those standards. I think will be useful for everybody. Okay. And where does that options?
Project standards.
Project standards.
Select the and if you go in simulation,
the hyperlink and so
No,
on.
simulation. Go in simulation, I guess.
Yeah. This is
Yes.
where you select the.
You have the color in red, so you have to turn it black, and it will be not colored.
Yes. I didn't explore much, but let me take 1 or 2 minutes to well, in Automation Studio, there is a couple of hundreds of things that can be standardized, that can be defined and reused. Well, in my presentation, I have skipped the creation of the standards. I was considering as a prerequisite to really to knowing that there is standards and template that can be created. If I go in the Fluid tab to give you a couple of examples, okay? In Automation Studio, there is standard, so you can access it from dedicated to Fluid from here, or from this interface, you can open and modify all the standards. So if I go, for example, from the Fluid tab, and I show you the lines appearance, why those lines turn in color, it's because, of course, I have defined a lot of line appearance, and I'm using those lines appearance to create my functions. So all the load sense I can select the load sense line with the appearance. So you define your standards for all the functions that you have in your circuit. And after that, when you apply those functions, it will take the color that you have predefined. Or if I show you an example, the new appearance that we have that I showed is really the component appearance. So this needs to be predefined. But once this is done, if I just show you an example here, once this is done, I take this, for example, mobile part, and I decide that, okay, I want it in blue like this. You'll see the modification will be done right now. At the moment, we have cylinders, we have valves that get this color mode activated. We have other features to color easily other components, but this is about the standards. I saw a couple of questions that maybe will be answered by that explanation, and it's everything in Automation Studio that you can really fluid line appearance that you can customize. Well, you have seen we have added some patterns for lines, new also in 7.1, with the color that you want in edition mode and in simulation mode. Okay, so still some time. Are there any other questions, Bruno, Dennis? That
Yes,
Go
yes,
ahead, Dennis. I'll let you take
yes.
the
There
lead
was a
on this.
question. There was a question about this type of appearance. Um, uh, so David asked to if he wants to have two color for two reduction valve level of lines. So you answer the question. You have to create
yes,
two function:
yes,
reduction one, reduction two, and appearance for reduction one, appearance for reduction two, and
yes.
assign it to installation circuit. Maybe you can show installation circuit dialog to see why it appear or not in the circuit. So if you click on the pen, you in the pen in the bottom,
Huh?
the
Yeah,
little pen,
yes.
yeah, you see what is available. So you can add by the plus all the appearance you want.
So you create them in your standards, and in the specific document, you add the one that you want to use. For example, I didn't have my load sensing line. You can define also a default pipes or tube that will be linked with that load sensing line. So now that my load sensing line is
No, you have it
I think
already.
it's not, yeah.
It is already done. It is already added in this.
Okay. We'll be able to use that load sensing line, and the color will take what you have defined in the load sensing line. Okay, well, I could have make it yellow and so on. Bon, the standards aspect, some of you may feel that we didn't explore or explain much that part. The third webinar will be on good practices, so we're going to recap also in a couple of minutes on that. But we are also looking, so let us know if you are interested to really to dig into how you could create a template that will make you able to do what I've done today. we could reorganize a webinar dedicated to that and so on. So give us all the feedbacks of what you liked, what you didn't in that presentation, and based on that, we're going to readjust and propose other webinars from the missing part of that. Okay. Any other questions, or we 1 minute before the end, Bruno?
There's I mean, there's a bunch of questions I don't think we'll have time to answer. Some of them we might need to recontact people individually.
Okay.
So I guess well, one of the the last questions is regarding the 2D CAD libraries. Basically, I just want to answer this really quickly just to assist.
Yes.
So basically, in the 2D CAD libraries, if you you're able to access them directly from Automation Studio. There's a separate library that you can open if you click on the button over here. You access all the different libraries. So there's actually two. There's some with the sectional components and some with the sectional components linked. The sectional components, if you grab them and bring them onto the schematic, you can use them independently. They work like the hydraulic components that are available. And then the sectional components linked is if you already have a circuit built, then you want to be able to associate the appearance, the animation of that component to something that's already existing in a hydraulic circuit. So there's a question on this. If it's not clear, just reach out to us after the webinar, and we can definitely go online with you and explain that detail to you. So yeah, we're already 10 o'clock. So I guess I'll just close up just by mentioning that if any of you are interested in the next webinar that we're doing, we'll be going through a lot more details and features on the 7.1 version and what else is available. So if you haven't registered to that webinar, please do. It's the same time next week, and we look forward to having you. Thank you so much, everybody, for having to join us this morning. And if you have any questions, as mentioned, feel free to answer us. To send us an email outside of the meeting, and we'll try to answer your questions. We will take down some of the questions we weren't able to answer, and we'll send individual follow-up emails to you, so that way you do have those answers. Thank you so much.